what I found is with couples in particular, normally one of them is very outgoing and one of them is very introvert, not real open type. Both of them are helpful. For instance, and it's not always male or females one way or another. Because I found it can go a lot of different ways. But you need to talk to each other.
Absolutely.
And you need to talk to God with each other. And you'll have your marriage renewed. You'll have your family renewed. And take one, and I'm going to shut up after this, but one step further is one of the things that I did when our kids were small. When Dave got to that age, around 12, 13, I took him on a retreat, father-son retreat, together with the Lord. When Renee got about that age, Tex took Renee. And so we tried to have those times, with them as well in our leadership. So in your leadership, to have that time of being renewed with those that you're leading. So,
can you, as I think we have to get ready to close in a minute, can you admonish husbands out there? Because another thought that occurred to me as you were talking about getting away with your wife, oftentimes I can jump to step in to my role as a spiritual leader, as the husband. But Paul reminds us that when I joined Anne Marie on December the 19th, 1998, God performed a miracle and two people became one. And so if I'm trying to lead my family, even spiritually, there is some things that I have to do by myself that I cannot expect her to do because I am the head of my household. But if I'm totally trying to do that in my own strength by myself without her, that can be a devastating thing as well, because we are joined together to be one.
Well, especially in ministry type things, husbands and wives, need to talk about ministry, need to pray about ministry. I heard years ago a Christian leader, a man whom I respect much, still do to this day. He was a great guy, and he confessed this. He said, I pray with people all day long. I come home, I don't want to pray with my wife. I'm tired. I want to get my focus somewhere else. But you can't do that. Your wife's got needs, and you've been called. So, and if you go running out, it's just like a pastor. I've seen a lot of great pastors, a lot of great vision, but the reason the vision never comes to pass is because they're so far out in front of their congregation. I mean, they're so far ahead of them. The congregation looks way out there and says, "Oh, there's the enemy," and they start shooting. And it's the same way with your family. If you get so far out, all of a sudden you become the enemy.
That's right.
And not the leader. And so you've got to bring them along gently and with you.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask also, is how do you rationalize the two? I mean, you're talking about prioritizing, what God has given you a ministry as a leader in the church. But then also, a lot of times as leaders in the church, we neglect, and I think one of our first responsibilities as well is 1A, and B is our children and our wives, but we'll spend all day doing ministry, but we neglect that part of our ministry.
But and it goes back to what I was talking about of talking with your spouse and seeing what their needs are and talking with them about what the family needs are, and not just you running off. And I'll give you a good example. I was thinking about this sometime this week. Time passes, man. I think it goes so quick. But anyway, one of the things I am so blessed by, and y'all know, is and I say this, oh God, I trust them to you, but to see my children living for the Lord. I've seen a lot of preachers' kids just, so rebellious against God because of the family situation and everything. But to see my kids, they're not perfect kids. They fail the Lord. They're your age, you're friends of yours, Chris. But to see them serving the Lord and live for the Lord, I can't tell you the joy. But I can tell you this, and I'm not saying it was me or Tex. It was God. But I do want to say that there were some things that God led us to do when they were growing up. One was I was traveling. I'm an evangelist, and I had the world. And you guys know the burden that I have for the world.
Yeah.
Well, the Lord spoke to me in Texas. We had one of our retreats and said, okay, if we're going to do this, how much time can I be away and not hurt our family? So I set some limits on the time that I was away. Now, sometimes I can remember I would come in from, get off a plane from being overseas and exhausted, and you know what it's like. You've got jet lag, and you can't hardly keep your eyes open. And Dave would be playing in a basketball game that night. and I'd go immediately to that basketball game.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I think, and I've heard Dave say this, and I think he's being honest. He never felt neglected. He never felt neglected. Renee never felt neglected. I don't think. They knew that I loved them. They knew that they were a priority in my life. And so I was able to do what I did without sacrificing my family. I was able to bring them along. And I've seen guys that they say, hey, God's calling me to do this. I'm going out. My wife doesn't understand. She's not. Well, hey, take a step back. Take a step back. Get with your wife. Your wife, more than anything else, needs to know that you love her.
Yeah.
You love her. And I'm going to close with this, but I was in a conference in South Africa where we saw the Spirit of God move in a mighty way. And I don't want to go into details about the conference because I don't want to identify the person. But a person came to me and said, can I have breakfast with you? I said, yeah. We had breakfast, and he began to pour his heart out. And he was a leader in this conference. And he said, my wife and I are struggling because she believes I'm more committed to the vision that we have at this conference than I am to her.
Wow.
And that I love this vision more than I love her. And he says, in fact, he says, I have my wedding ring here, and right next to my wedding ring, see this ring here? This ring is my commitment to this vision. And I looked at him, and it was hard. I said, you got to take that ring off.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
I said, you got to take that ring off. I said, you know what? That vision, God can bring to pass 10, 20 years down the road, but he called you. You made a commitment. You entered into the deepest of, it's so deep that it's reflective of how Christ loved the church.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that day, during the session I was speaking at, God came and moved in a mighty way. There was brokenness, weeping, crying, people repenting, and this brother stood up and told that he had taken his ring off and resigned from his position.
Wow.
He said, because I want my wife to know that I love her. Now, your wife needs to know that you love her more than you love the ministry. Now, not God. There's a difference in God and the ministry.
Yeah.
You know, God is our, it's that personal relationship with Him. You know, that's that inner relationship. Ministry comes after family. Now, I've learned this. I can lose the ministry and rebuild it if I have my family. But if I lose my family, I'm going to lose my ministry too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've gone over. Hope you enjoyed this, and it's been great to be with you. And hey, next week I'm going to be we've got an interview with Dr. Kim, who's with Korean Campus Crusade for Christ here in America. Now, there's a Korean portion of Campus Crusade in America, and God's really working. And I came in contact with them when I spoke years ago at the JAMA conference, Jesus Awakening Movement for America, and we were at the Cove, and I met Dr. Kim. We're going to have a meeting with him, interview with him next week. It'll be exciting. Hope you'll tune into that. You need to hear what God's doing among Koreans in America.
That's right.
And God will bless you through that. If you would like to talk to us, ask us questions, we'd love to hear from you. God bless you. Until next week.